The gentle facade. The Galactic Commonwealth had existed for over 13,000 years. Hundreds of species from across the stars had joined its ranks, bringing their unique talents and technologies to the collective. Peace wasn't perfect, but it was stable. Most conflicts were resolved through diplomacy rather than bloodshed, and the Commonwealth's military forces primarily served as peacekeepers rather than conquerors. Then humanity arrived on the galactic stage. The Commonwealth discovered Earth in what humans called the year 2089. A routine survey vessel detected unusual energy emissions from a previously unmapped system and investigated. What they found surprised them. A species on the cusp of achieving faster-than-light travel, but still confined to their home planet and a handful of orbital habitats. First contact was cautious but successful. Humans reacted with wonder rather than fear, with curiosity rather than aggression. Commonwealth representatives were invited to Earth's capital cities, where they were received with elaborate ceremonies and genuine warmth. They are remarkably adaptable, reported Telex, the Commonwealth's first ambassador to Earth. Although primitive in some technologies, they show exceptional potential and enthusiasm for peaceful cooperation. Within a decade, humans had been granted probationary membership in the Commonwealth. Their diplomats began learning the complex protocols of interstellar relations, their scientists eagerly absorbed new knowledge, and their merchants sought modest trade agreements. What most impressed, or perhaps puzzled, the older species was humanity's apparent lack of military posturing. While every other species had entered the galactic community with at least some display of defensive capabilities, humans seemed almost naively trusting. "They've barely armed their first interstellar vessels," remarked Ross, a high-ranking official from the Pelleran Republic. "Just minimal point defense systems, nothing that could threaten any Commonwealth ship." "Perhaps they truly are as peaceful as they appear," suggested his colleague. Ross clicked his mandibles skeptically. "No species evolves to sentience without aggression. They're hiding something, or they're fools." Not all Commonwealth members shared Ross's suspicions. The Aelari, known for their empathic abilities, found humans genuinely compassionate. The methodical Trin appreciated human creativity in solving engineering problems. Even the normally xenophobic Merit eventually warmed to human diplomats after witnessing their willingness to accommodate alien customs. But one faction remained unconvinced: the Craxus Dominion. The Craxus had joined the Commonwealth relatively recently, only a few centuries ago, after their expansionist period had been checked by the combined forces of several older species. Though nominally peaceful now, they maintained the galaxy's largest military fleet and governed their territories with rigid hierarchy and discipline. To the Craxus, humans appeared pathetically weak. During Commonwealth summit meetings, Craxus representatives openly mocked human delegates. They referred to them as soft skins and prey species, just loudly enough to be heard. Admiral Zorith, commander of the Craxus Third Fleet, was particularly vocal in his disdain. "Look at them," he sneered during one meeting, watching human diplomats earnestly discussing agricultural exchange programs. "No exoskeletons, no natural weapons, no protective adaptations whatsoever. It's a wonder they survived long enough to discover fire." When humans established their first extrasolar colony on a mineral-rich planet called Novaterra, Zorith saw an opportunity. The planet lay near a contested region, where Commonwealth jurisdiction was unclear. The disputed border incident would hardly raise alarms at the central government. The human colony was small, just 8,000 settlers with minimal defenses. When 3 Craxus warships appeared in orbit, the colony's governor, Elena Chen, sent a message of welcome, assuming they were making a diplomatic visit. Instead, the Craxus vessels launched a devastating bombardment. Within minutes, the colony's communications center, power generators, and water reclamation facilities were destroyed. The message from Admiral Zorith was simple: "This territory now belongs to the Craxus Dominion. Evacuate or be eliminated." When news of the attack reached Earth, the reaction wasn't what the Craxus expected. There was no panic, no desperate pleas for Commonwealth intervention, no hasty evacuation. Instead, Earth went silent for precisely 6 hours. Then, at exactly the 7th hour, something unprecedented happened. Throughout Commonwealth space, every communications network simultaneously broadcast the same message, a simple text transmission in the standard galactic language. The Craxus Dominion has committed an act of unprovoked aggression against humanity. We have attempted diplomacy. We have shown restraint. That restraint has been mistaken for weakness. This misunderstanding will now be corrected. The message was signed, the Terran Defense Authority, formerly classified. On Novaterra, Admiral Zorith was preparing for a ground assault when his sensors officer reported an anomaly. "Sir, we're detecting energy signatures emerging from the surface." "Impossible," Zorith snapped. "Our bombardment destroyed all their infrastructure." "These aren't from infrastructure, sir. They're coming from beneath the colony." Before Zorith could respond, 27 attack craft erupted from hidden underground hangars. They were unlike any human vessels previously seen, sleek, black, and bristling with weapons systems that Commonwealth intelligence had never documented. The Craxus warships opened fire, but their targeting systems couldn't lock onto the human craft. They moved with impossible agility, their hulls seemingly absorbing sensor scans rather than reflecting them. The battle lasted less than 4 minutes. All 3 Craxus vessels were disabled with surgical precision. Weapons and engines destroyed, but life support intact. Admiral Zorith watched in disbelief as a human shuttle docked with his command ship. The boarding party wore advanced combat suits that made them appear more machine than organic. Their weapons were leveled but not firing. A human female stepped forward, her helmet retracting to reveal her face. It was Governor Chen, the same woman who had welcomed them hours earlier. "Admiral Zorith," she said, her voice calm and measured, "you appear to have gravely misunderstood humanity's position in the galactic order." "This is an act of war," Zorith hissed. "The Dominion will." "The Dominion will do nothing," Chen interrupted, "because at this moment, similar scenes are playing out across Craxus space." She activated a holographic display showing real-time footage. Craxus defense platforms going dark, their military headquarters under lockdown, their leadership compounds surrounded by the same black-suited human forces. "How?" Zorith whispered. "You were primitive, defenseless." Chen's expression remained neutral. "We have been in space for over 200 years, Admiral. We detected your Commonwealth long before you found us. We've had decades to study your technology, your tactics, your strengths and weaknesses. But your ships, your colonies, decoys, facades, we showed you what we wanted you to see. A species finding its way, harmless and eager to please." "Why?" Zorith demanded. "Why the deception?" Chen's eyes hardened. "Because history taught us caution. On Earth, whenever an advanced civilization encountered a less developed one, the results were often catastrophic for the latter. We decided that when we met alien life, we would not reveal our true capabilities until we understood the nature of those we were dealing with." She gestured around the bridge. "And now we understand the Craxus Dominion perfectly." Throughout Commonwealth space, the news spread rapidly. Humanity, the quiet, unassuming newcomer, had neutralized the Craxus military in less than a day. No casualties were reported. No shots had been fired at any target besides military installations. The Commonwealth Council convened an emergency session. Human representatives appeared not in their usual modest attire, but in formal military uniforms bearing insignia never before displayed. "We apologize for the necessary deception," said Admiral James Reyes, newly revealed as Earth's military commander. "But we could not risk exposing our true capabilities until we understood the political landscape." "And now?" asked the Ilari representative, her luminescent features dimmed with concern. "Now we would like to renegotiate the terms of our Commonwealth membership," Reyes replied. "As equals, not as probationary members. We have no desire for conquest or aggression, but neither will we tolerate threats to our people." As the council chamber erupted in heated discussion, one truth became undeniable. The galaxy had severely underestimated humanity. The mask of meekness had been dropped, and what lay beneath was something the Commonwealth had never encountered before, a species that had perfected the art of appearing harmless while harboring the capabilities of a superpower. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. The storm unleashed. The galaxy reeled in shock. Across Commonwealth space, species that had dismissed humans as naive newcomers now watched in stunned silence as news feeds showed Craxus military installations systematically neutralized by previously unknown human forces. The feared Dominion fleet, the largest military power in the sector, had been rendered combat ineffective in less than 24 standard hours. Most astonishing was the precision of the human operation. There were no civilian casualties, no collateral damage to non-military infrastructure. Even among Craxus military personnel, injuries were minimal and largely limited to those who had actively resisted. "It's impossible," muttered diplomat Centaur of the Pelleran Republic, watching security footage of human operatives disabling a Craxus planetary defense grid. "Their technology, their tactics, none of this matches our intelligence on Earth." His aide, younger and less skeptical, replied, "What if our intelligence was only what they wanted us to see?" This question echoed through the halls of power across the Commonwealth. Had humanity orchestrated the greatest deception in galactic history? And if so, what were their true intentions? On the Craxus homeworld of Scoria, Supreme Commander Dravex faced the most humiliating moment of his career. The headquarters of the Dominion Defense Force, a fortress believed impregnable, was now under human control. Black-suited Terran operators moved efficiently through the corridors, securing data centers and weapons caches. Dravex had been permitted to retain his office, though now it served as little more than a cell. A single human stood guard by the door, a female, judging by her size and build, though her face remained hidden behind an opaque tactical visor. "How long has Earth been planning this?" Dravex finally asked, breaking hours of tense silence. The human tilted her head slightly. "Since before you knew we existed." "Impossible. We detected your world only 15 years ago." The visor depolarized, revealing a face with dark eyes that regarded him calmly. "Commander Dravex, humanity detected the Commonwealth's presence in our sector approximately 97 years ago. Your survey vessels aren't as stealthy as you believe." Dravex's scales flared in shock. "That's before we even joined the Commonwealth." "Correct. We observed your species during your expansionist period. We watched how you conquered the Tellarite systems and decimated the pre-Folian civilization. We noted your tactics, your technologies, and your cultural predisposition toward domination." She stepped forward, her movement fluid and controlled. "When your Commonwealth finally discovered Earth, we had already been implementing our adaptation strategy for nearly a century." Across the Commonwealth, similar revelations were unfolding. Human ambassadors, now speaking with newfound authority, explained their species' cautious approach to galactic politics. On the Commonwealth Central World, Admiral James Reyes addressed the assembled council. The chamber, designed to accommodate representatives of hundreds of species, was filled beyond capacity. Even species that rarely participated in politics had sent observers to this unprecedented session. Humanity's history is marked by encounters between civilizations of disparate technological capabilities, Reyes explained. In almost every case, the less advanced society suffered catastrophically, even when the more advanced one had no hostile intent. Cultural disruption, economic collapse, loss of sovereignty. These were common outcomes. He paced deliberately across the speaking platform. When we began detecting signals from non-human civilizations, our unified response was clear. We would not reveal our true capabilities until we understood the nature of the galactic community. "And what are humanity's true capabilities?" asked the Alari representative, her normally melodious voice tense. Reyes gestured, and a holographic display appeared above the council floor. It showed Earth, not as the Commonwealth knew it, with its modest orbital stations and limited fleet, but as it truly was, massive defense platforms in geosynchronous orbit, shipyards concealed within hollowed-out lunar craters, asteroid bases with weapons systems that could deliver devastating kinetic strikes across interstellar distances. We have been a spacefaring civilization for over 2 centuries, Rice continued. Our apparent technological limitations were carefully crafted illusions. The civilian vessels and settlements you've observed represent only a fraction of our capabilities. Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the chamber. But why? Demanded the Merit representative, his tentacles writhing in agitation. Why such elaborate deception? Because history taught us to be cautious, Rise replied simply, and recent events have proven that caution justified. On the edges of Krax's space, the full extent of humanity's military doctrine was becoming apparent. Their ships, sleek, black vessels that seemed to absorb both light and sensor scans, moved with unnerving coordination. They didn't communicate using standard Commonwealth protocols. Instead, they operated on encrypted quantum networks that were impossible to intercept or jam. Most disconcerting was their approach to combat. Human forces didn't seek to destroy their opponents. They simply rendered them irrelevant. Krax's weapon systems found themselves targeted by precision electronic warfare that left hardware intact but useless. Supply lines were intercepted but not destroyed, leaving Krax's forces contained but unharmed. It was warfare designed not to kill but to disable, to demonstrate overwhelming superiority while minimizing loss of life. Admiral Zorith, now confined to quarters on his own vessel, watched through his view screen as human ships systematically neutralized a Kraxis battle group. No energy weapons were fired. No kinetic projectiles launched. Instead, the human vessels deployed swarms of microscopic drones that attached themselves to Kraxis ships and overrode their command systems. It's not just their technology, he said quietly to his executive officer. It's their strategy. They're not fighting to win. They're fighting to prevent us from fighting at all. 3 days after the initial confrontation, the Kraxis High Council requested terms. Supreme Commander Dravex, still under house arrest in his own headquarters, was designated as their negotiator. The human delegation arrived not in military vessels, but in an unmarked diplomatic shuttle. They wore formal attire rather than combat suits, a subtle message that the military phase of operations was considered complete. The lead negotiator was a human female named Dr. Ilara Santos. Her diplomatic credentials indicated she had been part of Earth's first contact team 15 years earlier, though now it was clear she had been far more than the junior cultural specialist she had claimed to be. The Terran Defense Authority has no interest in occupation or territorial acquisition, Santos began without preamble. Our operation was defensive in nature, triggered by your unprovoked attack on Novaterra. Dravex's scales darkened with suppressed rage. Defensive. You infiltrated our systems, compromised our security, and neutralized our entire defense force. Yes, Santos agreed calmly. Because you demonstrated hostile intent toward our people. Your attack forced us to reveal capabilities we had hoped to introduce gradually, through diplomatic channels. She slid a data tablet across the table. These are our terms. They are non-negotiable, but I believe fair. Dravex reviewed the document, his expression shifting from anger to surprise. The terms were indeed unexpectedly reasonable. The Kraxis would withdraw all military forces from the Novaterra sector. They would provide reparations for damage to the colony. They would submit to monitoring of their military activities for a period of 5 standard years. There were no demands for territory, no crippling sanctions, no forced disarmament beyond the Novaterra sector. This is lenient, Dravex admitted reluctantly. We have no desire to humiliate or cripple the Dominion, Santos replied, only to establish boundaries and consequences. She leaned forward, her expression serious. But understand this clearly, Commander. This restraint is not weakness. Should the Kraxis, or any other power, threaten human interests again, Our response will be equally decisive. While negotiations with the Craxus proceeded, humanity's representatives to the Commonwealth Council proposed sweeping reforms to the interstellar body. Their proposals included stronger protections for developing civilizations, more transparent military protocols, and enhanced conflict resolution mechanisms. Many council members were initially resistant, viewing the proposals as an attempt by this suddenly powerful newcomer to reshape galactic politics to their advantage. But as details of the Craxus operation became more widely known, perspectives began to shift. The humans had demonstrated not only technological superiority, but ethical restraint. They had neutralized a major military power without causing a single fatality. They had protected their interests without seeking expansion or domination. Perhaps, suggested the venerable Trin representative, we should consider that humans have been observing our failings for longer than we realized. Their proposals address vulnerabilities in our system that we have long ignored. 6 months after the Craxus incident, the Commonwealth Council ratified the majority of humanity's proposed reforms. Earth was granted full membership status, and Admiral Rice was appointed to the Commonwealth Security Council, a position never before offered to a species so new to interstellar relations. In his acceptance speech, Rice addressed the lingering concerns about humanity's deception. Trust must be earned, he acknowledged. We presented ourselves as less capable than we were because we needed to understand the true nature of this community before committing our full participation. That was our failing, and we accept responsibility for the distrust it has created. He surveyed the chamber, making eye contact with representatives from dozens of species. But consider this. When forced to reveal our capabilities, we used them not for conquest or domination, but for defense and stabilization. Judge us not by our necessary caution, but by our actions when that caution was no longer an option. As the galaxy adjusted to humanity's true place in the order of civilizations, a new understanding began to emerge. Humans were neither the harmless newcomers they had pretended to be nor the ruthless conquerors some had feared they might become. They were something the Commonwealth had rarely encountered. A species that had learned the lessons of history before repeating its mistakes. A civilization that had developed incredible power alongside the wisdom to use it judiciously. On Novaterra, the colony was being rebuilt. The hidden military installations that had protected it were now visible, integrated into the growing settlement. Human military personnel worked alongside civilian colonists, no longer maintaining the pretense of separation. Governor Chen stood on a hillside overlooking the main colony, watching as new structures rose from the rubble of the Craxus attack. Beside her stood Admiral Zorith, permitted to visit under diplomatic supervision as part of the ongoing normalization process. "I still don't understand," he said, mandibles clicking softly. "With your capabilities, you could have dominated the Commonwealth from the beginning. Why play the part of the humble newcomer?" Chen smiled slightly. "Because true strength isn't about domination, Admiral. It's about knowing when not to use your power." She gestured toward the colony below, where humans worked alongside several alien species who had come to assist in the reconstruction. "This is what we wanted all along: cooperation, mutual respect, genuine alliance. We simply needed to be certain we could survive if those goals proved impossible." Zorith considered her words carefully. "And now?" "Now we all move forward with clear understanding," Chen replied. "The galaxy knows humanity's true face, and we hope it's one the Commonwealth can learn to trust." As night fell over Novaterra, Earth's first colony beyond the solar system continued its work of rebuilding and renewal. The mask had been dropped, revealing not a predator but a protector, a species determined to forge its path among the stars, through wisdom rather than force. The galaxy would never again mistake humanity's restraint for weakness, and in time, perhaps they would come to recognize it as humanity's greatest strength.